charm, Ray. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1.
Line drive to the base hit. Justice has scored a tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is. Goodbye. Big World Series for Reggie. The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Back and throw. There's a left back. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick, they'll have to brush them away from their faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run! The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins.
Here's the pitch to Willie. There's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Leva. Gets hit goodbye. Home run.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a jam. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, are you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, or get them out of here? You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of the program. I am your host, Dan Scott. That is Forrest Stulting, and we're very happy to have you with us as we emanate live here from the radio booth at Paladin Stadium in the football building overlooking the field and out towards Paris Mountain. It is a gray and overcast day, but hey, there's power.
No
here,
rain.
No rain and no wind, and
yeah.
We are very fortunate and happy to be here. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Hope you are doing well yourself.
Yeah, we were without power for about 25 hours at the Scott Family Ranch. Went off about 6 o'clock on Monday and came back about 7 o'clock last night. And we're fortunate because I know there are so many people in the area still without power. And as a matter of fact, Tracy downstairs in the football office is one who has been without it since Monday, and she's like so many others around the upstate. So we continue to pray for you guys, and just feel very fortunate and blessed that we were able to get ours back on when it did. And we passed by the Duke Energy crews. And I know they take a lot of grief and sometimes, like everybody else, justifiably so.
Absolutely.
But, man, they are working their rear ends off. And the area that apparently caused our issue, they were at for the good portion of the day yesterday, just cleaning up an incredible mess, and a mess that was also highly dangerous because of down power lines.
The electricity just flowing right through,
So anyway, we've got that taken care of and back at it after missing yesterday. Campus was closed yesterday until 10 o'clock to give the facilities folks time to at least do some cleanup, and its cleanup's going to be ongoing.
Oh, yeah.
Right outside, from the time you enter campus at the Timmons Arena entrance off of Duncan Chapel Road, I think I counted 5 trees that were snapped in half.
Then many more along the Furman Mall and in front of Johns Hall and Furman's Hall. So definitely just trees down left and right throughout the entire campus, and just glad no one was hurt in the dangerous winds and rain 2 days ago.
And as I got to contemplating and I put this out on Facebook and Twitter yesterday, we look around here and see what 40 and 50 mile an hour winds did, and it did quite a bit of damage. Now, add 100 miles an hour to that or more, and that's what folks in Florida and St. Martin's and
Caribbean,
all of those other people had to deal with, and you can understand the level of destruction there.
Man.
It just really puts things into perspective how lucky and blessed we really are here, and our thoughts and prayers continue to be with those folks. On the show today, Dave Glenn will be joining us. We'll be going around the Atlantic Coast Conference with the best in the business, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
From ACCSports.com and the Dave Glenn Show, syndicated throughout North Carolina. Tomorrow on the program, Scott Cole will join us here in studio, and Doug Allison will be our guest at 10:45 as the nationally ranked men's soccer program is getting ready to crank it up again. So we'll be talking to Doug after their morning practice. And, of course, Friday, Scott Keeler in to talk some high school football. And all along the way, we continue to look towards Furman's trip to North Carolina State, along with a lot of other college football we'll be talking about as the day and the days go on.
Absolutely.
What's going on campus here?
Yes, sir. So, obviously, you just mentioned the Furman men's soccer team, and more accolades come out this week and some more jump in the rankings. So the United Soccer Coaches Association bumped them up to 15th. In Soccer America, they are ranked 8th. In Top Drawer Soccer, they are ranked 10th. And for Soccer News, they are ranked 13th in the country. So obviously the 4-0 win over UNC Asheville on Sunday helped them kind of bump themselves up. And then there's only 3 other undefeated teams in the top 10. So that's just really good stuff. And the Paladins are 5-0 right now. And they have a 386-minute shutout streak, and the last goal they gave up was against College of Charleston in their very first game, actually. So they have done really well to kind of stifle the other team's offensive strategies going into the game. So On the volleyball side, Meg DeMar was named the Defensive Player of the Week by the SoCon. And on cross country, after sweeping the 2 events this past weekend at the Furman Invitational, the men remain ranked first in the southeastern region. The women moved from 3 to 2, and nationally, the men are ranked 14th and the women are ranked 29th. And today, going on Furman's campus, the women's soccer team battles South Carolina State at 7 o'clock, as well as the volleyball team battles Gardner Webb at 7 o'clock in Alley Gym. So come out and support your Paladins on this beautiful day in Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah, so a lot to do, as always, here on campus, on any college campus,
no doubt,
for that matter. And if you get an opportunity, come out and support what's going on here or on a campus somewhere near you. Let's get to your trivia question, and then we'll start delving into some of the goings-on today.
Sure. I just want to mention congrats to Chris Carter and the 18 under Team USA baseball. They defeated Korea yesterday to go undefeated in that tournament, and I know Chris Carter really enjoyed his time out there, so just congrats to them and to Chris Carter on the fabulous showing that they did in Canada these past week and a half to 2 weeks. And the Greenville Drive won last night in 13 innings in Game 1 of the South Atlantic League Finals, so Game 2 will be tonight in Kannapolis and Game 3 tomorrow night in Greenville. So go Drive, and look for them to kind of hopefully maybe possibly sweep the Intimidators on Thursday night. So be looking for that.
So our this series is best 2 out of 3 as well?
Best 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, Game 3 will be in Greenville tomorrow night. And Game 2 is tonight in Kannapolis still. So.
Okay. Good deal. The Drive keeps rolling.
They sure do.
And Ed Jensen keeps.
Oh man, he was in rare form last night, laughing. And it was really fun to listen to him for a few innings, especially in the late innings as well. So
that's fantastic.
Yep.
All right, now let's get to the trivia question.
Absolutely. We are going to talk about some Furman football. Which out-of-state opponent does Furman have the most wins against? So obviously Wofford and Citadel. Furman has the most wins against them in the all-time history, but which out-of-state opponent do the Paladins have the most victories against? I was somewhat surprised to see this.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just from my history of being around Furman football, because...
Which admittedly is a limited history.
Very limited, for sure. Yeah.
Out of state, so we're not talking jumping up and playing against the FBS level. We're talking about just any out-of-state opponent.
Any out-of-state opponent.
Okay.
Any out-of-state opponent.
Okay. If you have a guess at the trivia question, then you can leave it in the Facebook comments section. You can tweet it to us at Dan Scott Show, and we'll be very happy to pass your guesses along. And the winner or multiple winners get their choice of an attaboy or a pat on the back at the end of the show. Incidentally, I would be remiss if I did not mention that today is the first day we are fully streaming on multiple platforms. When we did it on Monday, we didn't have Facebook Live with us for various and sundry reasons. But today we are live on Facebook, we're live on Twitter via Periscope, and we're live on YouTube. And I'll put an asterisk by this when I say fully streaming, because in the coming days we're going to be adding Furman's YouTube channel to the live stream, and that comes with almost 1,300 subscribers.
Oh boy!
So we'll be adding that to it as well. But taking the opportunity with the technology we've been granted here to spread out and extend our reach, as if the internet has any end to its reach anyway. But the more platforms, the more people.
Absolutely.
And we're happy to be here with you on all of our streaming platforms, plus TuneIn Radio, the app, or actually even the TuneIn website. You can take that with you and hear locally on the Campus FM 95.9. Let's go ahead and take our first break. We'll come back and we'll get into at least the first of Forrest's three things before we visit with Dave Glenn of the ACC sports.com website and his own syndicated talk show in North Carolina, the David Glenn Show. As always, our show is brought to you by our friends at the Atlanta Bread Company, located in Cherrydale Plaza, just up the road from campus here a couple of miles. Had breakfast there again this morning and continue to just pound home the notion, folks, that you need to visit them because of not only the great food and the wide-ranging menu they have, but also the people. Their folks there are absolutely top-notch. You need to go and see for yourself. As we go to break, here's a little more about them, the Atlanta Bread Company, and we'll be back with more on the Dan Scott Show after this. Don't go away. The Atlanta Bread Company wants to make your dining experience as convenient as possible, especially if you're ordering takeout. Go online to atlantabreadcompany.com, place your order there, and pay for it too. Then, when you get to the restaurant at Cherrydale Point, you breeze right by the cash registers and go straight to the pickup counter where your food will be waiting. And speaking of food, try the new Shrimp Po' Boy, a delicious and surprisingly healthy addition to the already great menu. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT unpimiented cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget the gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
Say you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPO Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today. Twelve minutes past the hour as we continue here on this Wednesday edition of the Dan Scott Show. I'm Dan, that's Forrest, and again, as always, very happy to have you along for the ride with us today. Dave Glenn coming up at about 10:25, and again tomorrow, Scott Cole in studio for the entire show, plus Doug Allison, the men's soccer coach here, the coach of the nationally ranked Furman Paladin soccer team.
5-0 nationally ranked.
Yeah, so that's coming up on the show tomorrow. Let's get to, like I said, at least the first of your three things today.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we're going to lead off with some baseball. Yesterday, Major League Baseball announced their 2018 schedule, and some really pretty cool history involved here with the release of the schedule. It'll be the earliest start in Major League Baseball history when they fire things off with the opening day on March 29th. So it's a few days earlier than normal, but that is because they want to work 3 to 4 more off days in for each club, which I think is definitely needed. But the other big thing that's going to happen on March 29th is that all 30 clubs will be opening on the same day, which is going to be great. It's the first time since 1968 that this has happened, that was the last year. It was just the World Series in the playoffs. In 1969, they added the championship series for both leagues. So a little bit of history there. And the Thursday after the All-Star break, there'll be one game played, and that'll be the St. Louis Cardinals against the Chicago Cubs on Thursday. So usually it's typically you get the Thursday and Friday off for everybody, but they're adding that one game on Thursday, it's only Wednesday and Thursday off, but they're adding that one game on Thursday before things get kicked off again for the full slate of games on Friday.
Well, back in the olden days.
The olden days.
Yes,
oh boy.
The BF days before Forrest. The All-Star game, of course, is played on Tuesday. The All-Star break was 3 days. You were off Monday, play the All-Star game Tuesday, off Wednesday, and then there was pretty much a full schedule of games on Thursday. It's just been in recent years that for whatever reason they started not playing again until Friday to take 2 days off between the All-Star games. So we get at least one of those games back with the Cubs and the Cardinals next year. But again, it used to be that pretty much everybody could come back with a 4-game series Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I kind of like the extra day off, I think, because obviously with all the implications of the game and like it's now that it's not going to determine home field advantage, but it's still a pretty big game nationally. They want everybody to kind of be out there to kind of show their best, and obviously the home run derby takes a big toll on most people. I think that extra day was needed, but I think it's good to have at least one game on that Thursday now. That's just my thinking on that.
And it was looking at the Reds' schedule for next year. I don't know that I've seen this in the entire time that I've been following Major League Baseball, especially following the Reds, and I'm sure it's happened before, but I just don't recall it. 16-game road trip.
Wow.
All west.
Are they going out west more than once, or is that the only time they're going out west?
I'm assuming they're going out more than once, but I just saw there was a 16-game road trip going out west.
That's pretty daunting right there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Long time. I mean, you usually only do 9.
You're taking in all 3 teams in California, Dodgers, Padres, and Giants, and then the Diamondbacks and Rockies all on one swing.
You're missing the A's, though, so...
Well, we could probably beat the A's. But that's another story for another time. Talking about the National League for us.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, so yeah, I love the idea that everybody's opening on the same day.
I love that too. Yeah.
But I did notice a 16-game road trip. That's pretty intense.
Yeah, I don't like that personally for anybody. That's a little bit too long.
Kidding?
Yeah. So I think probably 9 to 12 games is the max you want to go, I'd say, for that. But obviously that's left up to the commissioner's office and their voodoo ways they come up with the scheduling these days. So
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But
a very good way to put it.
Anything else on the schedule release that you want? Oh, they also playing games in Puerto Rico this year. The Twins will have three home games in Puerto Rico, so that'll be fun to watch. First time in, I think, 10 years that they're going to have some regular season games in Puerto Rico. So
since Montreal actually played in Puerto Rico.
Yep, I think you're right.
The Montreal Expos of Puerto Rico. So, all right, good stuff.
Yeah.
Tell you what, we'll go ahead and step out. And
I didn't finish my thing yet.
You haven't?
No, I
thought you were done.
No, I mean the Indians they won 20 games last night. Yeah.
Oh, they didn't win 20 last night.
Yeah.
They won their 20th
They won the 20th straight
night.
last night. Excuse me. Yeah.
Tied the American League record.
Tied the 2002 A's. They won 2-0. Auspiciously enough for their 20th victory. So, Corey Kluber, he threw a shutout, his third shutout of the year, and obviously the pitching staff has been incredible this entire run. But I think one pitcher that has kind of gone under the radar a little bit is Mike Clevenger. In his previous 3 starts, he's all gone 6 innings for 18 total innings pitched. He's given up no runs and struck out 22 batters. So you're obviously going to hear about your Bowers, your Klubers, your Carrascos, but Mike Clevenger is the dark horse in that race. And
your 4 and 5 starters throwing up 18 straight scoreless innings.
Yeah.
You're doing pretty well.
You're doing something right for sure. Yeah, and ever since Francisco Lindor was moved into the leadoff spot, they've gone 28-4. So just a really good table setter, if you will.
That wacky Terry Francona strikes again,
you
right?
You got that right.
No kidding.
Yeah, and the Dodgers ended their streak last night and clinched a playoff berth. So that's good for them. They haven't clinched the division yet, but that will come eventually. They have clinched a berth. And the stat of the night for you, just to mention this quickly, the Twins beat the Padres 16-0. and the Twins were the first team to homer in the first 7 innings of a ball game.
Ever.
Yeah.
I did see that.
Forever.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right, so are we done now?
We're done
Can
now.
we go to break?
You can.
All
Let's
right.
do it.
All right, that's thing 1. We'll get 2 and 3 when we come back on the other side of Dave Glenn. But Dave is next. We'll spend some time talking all things ACC with the best in the business. Before we go, though, let me remind you about our friends at CPR Cell Phone Repair in Cherrydale. You see the number there on your screen, 282-9097. They do repairs. They do them well, and they do them quickly. I have an iPhone. My screen had been cracked since sometime in March. Took it there last month, and within 30 minutes it was done. They say they can do iPhones within an hour. They got mine done in about 30 minutes. All other tablets, phones, just about every brand they can do, and they usually can do them same day. They do computer and gaming system repairs, and not just the screens, also can replace hard drives. They sell refurbished phones and tablets and brand new accessories for all phones and tablets under brand new ownership from Janet Culver, who also owns stores in Spartanburg and Columbia. But stop by the Cherrydale location, please, and tell them you heard about them here on the show. CPR Cell Phone Repair, and we would greatly appreciate your support of our sponsors. Off we go to the break. Dave Glenn joins us on the other side as the Dan Scott Show continues in just a moment. Dan Scott here to tell you that I have found my breakfast place in the Travelers Rest area, the Hungry Drover. Located at the intersection of Tigerville Road and Highway 290, the Hungry Drover features local eggs, raw milk, homemade breads, and of course their famous gigantic omelets. If it's lunch you crave, check out the barbecue, tomato pie, and the made-from-scratch desserts. And don't forget dinner on Friday nights. Find the full menu and operating hours at hungrydrover.com and like them on Facebook. For catering, call John at 864-901-5040 and enjoy the farm fresh eating experience in the heart of Travelers Rest. That is the Hungry Drover.
If you've been sidelined with an injury, sore joint, or back pain, the experts of Piedmont Orthopedic Associates can offer you both surgical and non-surgical care to get you moving again. Piedmont Orthopedic Associates' 15 surgeons and 2 spine physicians are all board certified and are committed to providing you with excellent orthopedic care. Visit us online at getmovingwithpoa.com.
Hey Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show. .23 and we're back. It's the I guess technically the middle segment, one of 2 middle segments today. How about that?
I like that intro too, Dan. That was pretty
segment
pretty
number 3.
nice little slow jam right there.
Yeah,
I
changing
like that.
some things up on the music front.
Sounds like David Glenn right there to me.
Well, Dave has his own theme music. We welcome you back to the show. Very happy to have you with us, and we are going now, as we reference to the guy who we consider to be the absolute best in the business. When it comes to all things Atlantic Coast Conference, his name is David Glenn. He is with ACCSports.com and the cleverly titled David Glenn Show, syndicated throughout the state of North Carolina. And he joins us to talk all things Atlantic Coast Conference. How are you, buddy?
Doing great, Dan. Good to be back with you and Forrest always.
Yes, sir.
Good to be with you as well. I've got a lot that we need to get into today, and a lot of different directions we can go. I just wanted to get your thoughts on what we witnessed last week with Clemson just pummeling Auburn's, not only their quarterback, but their offensive line over and over and over again.
Well, to me, defensively, that is about as good as it gets. And I have been around the ACC for a long time. I remember some Mac Brown UNC teams where you were surprised if they gave up 14 or more points. And those teams finished back-to-back in the national top 10. I remember the Bobby Bowden Florida State glory days with the legendary defensive coordinator Mickey Andrews. And there were times that you were surprised if the Seminoles' opponent broke double digits in points. And this Clemson team looks that way. And there are only so many human beings that are that size and shape, the Dexter Lawrence, Christian Wilkins, and others, and yet have that level of athletic ability. And it is one of the greatest differentiation points in all of college football. You can be a good team. You can even some years be a top 10 caliber college football team without those NFL caliber defensive linemen. But which schools do it more regularly? It's Alabama with those guys under Nick Saban. It's Florida State with those kinds of guys under Jimbo Fisher. It's Ohio State with those kind of guys nowadays under Urban Meyer. And Dabo Swinney has upgraded with Brent Venables that side of the ball at Clemson. What we saw against Auburn was absolutely dominant. What we saw against a weaker opponent, Kent State, in week 1 was incredibly dominant as well. It gets trickier, obviously, with the trip to Louisville, but you just can't be much better than the Tigers have been on that side of the ball.
I think the thing that's most impressive about what they've been able to do over the course of the last 3 or 4 seasons, if you really look inside of the situation, Dave, is the number of players seemingly they lose every year on the defensive side of the football, and yet Brent Venables is able to continue to put out this kind of defensive performance game in and game out, year in and year out.
I totally agree, and it is really – there are only 6 to 8 programs in the country that have that pipeline. And Alabama's one, Florida State, Ohio State, Clemson. There are others, but it's not a long list where you just keep cranking out the NFL caliber talent on the back end, but you keep stacking top 10 recruiting classes on the front end. Even some of your hidden gems have turned out to be great players at Clemson. I mean, Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins, everybody who saw them in high school knew that they had a great chance to be the real deal. Not every guy fits that description, though, and it's not just those two. I mean, Austin Bryant has had a few sacks at defensive end. Cleveland Farrell kind of had his breakout late last year, and he's backing it up again. The linebackers are getting to the passer as well. What was it, 11 sacks last week? I mean, that's just a crazy number at the college level especially. And they're getting it from a whole lot of different guys, and that's a great sign because they're going to need a team effort to deal with a Lamar Jackson of Louisville, who just in 100 years of football in Chapel Hill set the all-time record for total offense by an opposing player as his Cardinals beat the Tar Heels last week at Kenan Stadium.
But before Forrest goes, let me just ask you something. Does it look to you like Jackson spent an incredible amount of time in the offseason working on throwing the football?
No doubt about it. And Bobby Petrino, not my favorite guy for a lot of reasons, has always deserved the label of offensive guru. And Lamar Jackson deserves a lot of credit for not resting on his laurels coming off of a Heisman Trophy season. I mean, he was not a great polished passer. He's still not an elite passer. His athleticism hurt the Tar Heels even more than his throwing did, but he put a couple of bombs right on the dime. I mean, he evaded a pass rush, stepped aside, and then hit his man in stride. We all know how this works. If the quarterback makes a guy on a deep route come back to the ball, well, it might be a 30-yard gain, but it's probably not going to be a 75-yard touchdown.
Right.
Lamar Jackson hit guys in stride on a few of those plays, way down the field. And that's not what he was best at earlier in his Louisville career. He hasn't quite put it together the way you'd expect an NFL quarterback to be accurate and with his decision making, but he's inching closer and closer to that. And his athleticism remains, unsurpassable, basically. The Tar Heels had him boxed in so many different times, and yet he either evaded that one player almost always, or sometimes 2 and 3 players in a way that just left your defensive staff scratching its head. If you put your defensive players in the right spots, and they can't make the plays, well, then what are you going to do but tip your cap to the other side? And Lamar Jackson is among that handful of players nationally where you can do everything right defensively, and he's still going to make big plays on you.
Yeah, no doubt. So last week, Lamar Jackson becomes the first Power 5 quarterback to throw for 300 yards and rush for 100 yards in back-to-back weeks. And so after beating UNC 47-35 last week, what do you see is the key to the game against Louisville and Clemson this week, Dave?
Well, I think Clemson for sure has better athletes than what Lamar Jackson faced against either Purdue or UNC. So those one-on-ones are not going to go for Lamar Jackson as often. He'll still get his, but the Clemson athletes are better than the other two. The two-on-ones are going to go in favor of Clemson. I don't think he can do to the Tigers in those situations on the flat where Carolina's defense does not appear to be a well-coached defense, to put it bluntly, right now. They lost Gene Chizik in the offseason. He had been kind of their magic wand man on that side of the ball for the last 2 years under Larry Fedora. He stepped away into the broadcast booth and for family reasons. And his replacement, a guy named John Papuchis, has a pretty decent track record, but his defense is absolutely positively underperformed through 2 weeks. The loss to Cal in week 1, and then the more understandable loss to Louisville in week 2. Clemson is better coached, has better personnel, and the key is going to be keeping Lamar Jackson in the pocket as much as possible. It's not easy. It's easier to draw up than it is to execute, but he's still at his best when he's rolling out. He's still at his best when he's using his feet. He's among the ACC's leaders in average rushing yards per game. I think there's only one running back ahead of Lamar Jackson in the entire ACC right now. One running back, and that's in rushing yards. So I think Clemson wants to force Lamar Jackson to show that he can be more of a traditional pocket passer, because that's still not his greatest skill.
Dave Glenn, ACCSports.com, joining us as he does every Wednesday from August to April to talk all things Atlantic Coast Conference. The Florida State Seminoles obviously had their game with Louisiana Monroe canceled last week because of Hurricane Irma getting ready to blow through the state of Florida. And in no way, shape, or form am I going to try to frame this as a good thing for Florida State, because there's no way a hurricane of any kind is a good thing. So we'll get that out there first. However, they do have an extra week, or did have an extra week now, to work with James Blackman, the true freshman, who is now stepping in as a starting quarterback after the injury to DeAndre Francois. What kind of, I don't know if advantage is the right word, but how much you think that extra week will help?
I think it matters a lot, because keep in mind, Florida State has NC State on September 23rd, and that is a heck of a defense that the Wolfpack has. So James Blackman will go from getting few reps as the backup all summer long and all August long to DeAndre Francois, where, of course, the focus is going to be your starter and his chemistry with the other starters, rather than James Blackman having only a matter of days before being thrown into the fire. He's going to have a matter of weeks where he's the guy getting all those first-team reps. And he, who knows what his work ethic was before, I assume, he was still preparing to be a backup, but every player ever is going to jack up his preparation and video study now that he knows he's the first true freshman to start a quarterback since the mid-1980s at Florida State. I mean, that's a big, big deal. The NC State game won't be easy. Wake Forest is a well-coached defense after that. The rescheduled Miami game is coming in early October. So those would be back-to-back-to-back challenges of varying difficulty. and it's absolutely positively an advantage. I like the way you put it, Dan. We all see the bigger picture here. Football is not as important as people dying in a hurricane. We all get that. But football-wise, is it an advantage for your backup true freshman to have a few weeks to wrap his brain around his new role and to get into that video room and study that much harder? Yes, it matters, and yes, it's going to be a help to the Seminoles, although we all agree they still wish they had DeAndre Francois running that show.
Absolutely, but moving to another team that's kind of under the radar a little bit, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. How have you seen their play so far this year, Dave?
I thought they did a great job at Boston College. BC wasn't sure who its quarterback was going to be, and in week one, they decided to go with a freshman named Anthony Brown. And Wake Forest basically came up with a game plan where they said, you know what, most freshmen can be confused into turnovers. And that is exactly what Wake Forest did at Boston College in what became a convincing victory for Wake, 34-10. Do I think Wake is as good as most of those teams in the Atlantic? No. They don't have as much talent, not close to it, as any combination of Clemson, Florida State, Louisville, and even NC State. However, they're smart. They're well coached. They have a senior quarterback in John Wolford. They have enough athletes on defense to execute a game plan the way they did at Boston College. I think they're a bowl team for the second year in a row under Coach Dave Clawson. I think they're going to win this week to get to 3-0, beating Utah State. And then I don't know if this means much down there in the Palmetto State, but the next week, Wake goes to Appalachian State. So that's Winston-Salem toward the western part of our state, and then Boone way out west, not far from the Tennessee border. They're neighbors. They used to play every year way back when, but they hardly ever play anymore in football. And they have a September 23rd matchup, Wake at App State, that I don't know if it registers at all on the national radar or even outside of North Carolina, but it's a really, really big deal in the eyes of the App State fans and players. But also it's an opportunity perhaps for Wake Forest to start the season 4-0 right out of the gate.
Yeah, to get an ACC team to come, even though you're playing technically on the same FBS level now with the move up, still for an ACC team to come to Boone is a big deal. And you can say, quote unquote, even if it is Wake Forest, as you said, they're neighbors there in that western quadrant of North Carolina. So those folks, I've been there, man. Those folks up in Boone, they'll be, shall we say, ready for Wake Forest when they get there.
Well, Dan, you know this context so well because of your own background, but I was there a year ago, and I can testify with my own eyewitness account. I was at Kid Brewer Stadium as the Mountaineers hosted the Miami Hurricanes of the ACC. So this Wake thing has the neighborly angle and the reignition of a rivalry that used to be played annually angle. The Miami game a year ago this was 5-time national champion Miami visiting Little Boone, North Carolina, with the 3-time FCS national champion that decided to jump up to the FBS, App State, and pretty much hit the ground running and is already one of the best, if not the best, programs in the Sun Belt Conference. I saw the longest lines I've ever seen in Boone, North Carolina. Now, the Hurricanes took out the Mountaineers pretty convincingly last year, but there were 30,000 plus people in and around Kid Brewer Stadium. There were literally thousands of people in line just waiting to get into the stadium. And some of the old timers said that it was the biggest event in App State football history in terms of a home game. And we brought our big tailgate tour there for that weekend, and we certainly were not disappointed.
Dave, just kind of skimming your website here, there's a question, actually a couple of things that jump out at me. Number one, Larry Fedora also is a guy who's known as an offensive mind, as you referenced Bobby Petrino a moment ago, but he's having trouble settling on a quarterback up in North Carolina.
Yeah, he is, and because they don't share a lot of injury information, we're not 100% sure of the details. In my opinion, the redshirt freshman Chaz Surratt has dramatically outperformed the LSU transfer Brandon Harris. LSU fans were telling Tar Heel fans all offseason, This guy is a good athlete. He has some strengths, but he just has never figured out how to play quarterback. If you remember Lamar Jackson at Louisville as a freshman, he was all athlete. He had no idea what he was doing in the more polished aspects of playing quarterback. Well, Brandon Harris, as a senior, still is repeatedly confused by defensive adjustments, still makes repeated mental errors that you might put up with for a younger quarterback. But I just can't believe Larry Fedora is going to put up with it much longer for a fifth-year transfer player. Chaz Surratt did tweak his ankle, it appeared, in that game against Louisville. So the redshirt freshman Surratt played for the first half, but then Brandon Harris played for the entire second half. They were each responsible for 2 touchdown drives. The 5th touchdown came on a kickoff return. So it was a little bit more of a statistical wash last week against the Cardinals. But overall, I'll be surprised if Larry Fedora puts this season in the hands of Brandon Harris, because an 0-2 start is not what was expected. Losing to Louisville is not embarrassing. But the 0-2 start, that loss to Cal, and the defensive disasters, these are serious red flags for the Tar Heels. And if you continue to have those kind of issues on defense, obviously that Fed spread might have to outscore people, pinball machine style. I just think Chaz Surratt gives the Tar Heels, if he's healthy, gives the Tar Heels a much better chance of getting that done as they go into a trip to Old Dominion this week and then a dangerous Duke team the following week.
Yeah, the other thing that I kind of laughed at on the side is, everything, all the story headlines, football. This harkens back in a sense to what we talked about with the University of Virginia last week. All these football headlines, and the top story about Virginia is which guards are at the top of their basketball recruiting board. I think that in and of itself kind of tells you all you need to know about the state of UVA football right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we're only 2 weeks in, but if you had to summarize, Syracuse losing at home to Middle Tennessee is a major red flag about the Orange and its rebuilding process under Coach Dino Babers. And then that's the other example. UVA, year 2 under Bronco Mendenhall. I have no questions about the guy's ability as a head coach. He was phenomenal for a decade at BYU. But the cupboard was not entirely bare, but mostly bare, especially on offense. So they squeaked by William and Mary. They lose to Indiana. I don't think Virginia and Syracuse are the 2 teams that I have a hard time foreseeing a road to a bowl game. Now, the other 12 teams in the ACC, to varying degrees, even the 0-2 Tar Heels, have a possible path to such things. But the Cavaliers and the Orange, I think, continue to be in rebuilding mode, at least for 2017.
So this week we get to kind of talk a little about Furman football because they're playing the NC State Wolfpack. So, Dave, what can the Furman fans expect out of the NC State on offense and defense this weekend in Raleigh?
I'd say the first 2 things that jump out to me, Forrest, are, A, the Wolfpack's defensive front. They have all juniors and seniors in what they call their front 6. They run a 4 linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 D-backs most of the time. Every starter and most of the backups in that front 6 are juniors and seniors. Bradley Chubb is a potential first-round NFL draft pick. He basically took the Marshall game when it was really in doubt at halftime and refused to allow the Thundering Herd to have a chance. He was manhandling whoever was trying to block him, and he changed that game. And he has help on that defensive front, but he's the standout. The other guy I would mention is offensively, Ryan Finley, A, is a very accurate passer, and B, has a lot of weapons around him. A wideout named Kelvin Harmon, a running back named Nyheim Hines. They don't have a great offensive line, although that is getting healthier at exactly the wrong time for Furman. A guy named Will Richardson is coming back from a suspension, so not an injury, but he's a key player for them at right tackle. So I think Furman faces an uphill battle really on both sides of the ball. This is Dave Doran's best team in his 5 years at NC State. It didn't show it as much against South Carolina, but it took a step forward with that 37-20 win over Marshall.
I kidded Coach Clay Hendricks earlier this week. David Cobb, my color guy on the broadcast, pointed out on Saturday as we were wrapping up that broadcast and looking ahead to NC State. He said, the last Furman coach to beat North Carolina State ended up coaching there the next year. Which was
that was the Dick Sheridan story?
That was Dick Sheridan, absolutely. So I was kidding Clay Hendricks about that. You win this game and bigger things might be on the horizon a little quicker than you thought. But so there is a little bit of history there that ties the two schools together because of the person of Dick Sheridan. Hey, Dave, tell us about the best way people can keep up with what you're doing and catch all that there is to know about ACC sports.
Online always, Dan. It's ACCsports.com. Football, basketball, recruiting, audio involving ACC guests on our statewide radio program. We have analytics for those who are into the stats and the metrics and the numbers, basketball and football. It's a little bit of everything right there at the website, ACCsports.com. Our football preview magazine, of course, is out. It's an annual, so it has a lot of good info that extends even beyond the football season itself. So you can check that out by visiting the website. And we also encourage folks to follow us on Twitter if they're into social media, at ACC Sports and at David Glenn Show. Both of those handles have a lot of ACC-related material as well.
As always, man, it's a bunch of great stuff. Look forward to talking to you again next week.
Great to be with you guys. Take care.
Thanks, Dave.
That's Dave Glenn, ACCsports.com. All right, when we come back, one segment to go, we'll get into Thing 2 and Thing 3 from Forrest and put a wrap on today's program. After this, you are listening to and watching, he said, on multiple platforms yet, The Dan Scott Show, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT unpimmented cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget their gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
So you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPR Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today.
Hey, Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show. .10:48, and we're back. Final segment. Our thanks to Dave Glenn of ACCsports.com for joining us as he does every Wednesday, and we'll put that interview up on SoundCloud, and you'll be able to go back and access it once we share out the link for you. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, let's get to things before we do.
Oh, man.
Got to remind folks about a brand new sponsor here on the program, the good folks at Hall's Chop House in downtown Greenville have joined us. You're going to be hearing a lot more about them on the program, but you can see there they are the Greenville Steakhouse. They have just the top quality cuts of meat, but they also have top quality people and facilities. They have banquet rooms available. They can do parties. You're going to love the food. You're going to love the service. You're going to love the atmosphere, and you're going to love it when we start telling you much more about Hall's Chop House. And we're even talking about, even though they're not open for lunch, we're talking about the possibility of maybe doing a live show or two from there. I don't know if it's going to be a show during a time like now when they're closed, or if we may do a special evening edition from there at some juncture. We're still kind of kicking around the details on that. But Hall's Chop House in downtown Greenville, brand new sponsor here. We thank them for jumping on board with us and look forward to telling you much more about them. All right, now let's get to things 2 and 3.
Thing 2, we're going to kind of go over the rankings from week 3. Obviously, Alabama held steady at number 1. They garnered 58 first-place votes in the AP top 20.
I was going to ask, so this is the AP poll, right?
Yep. Oklahoma received 2 votes, and Clemson received 1. So you have Oklahoma 2, Clemson 3. However, in the coaches poll, they have Clemson 2, Oklahoma 3. Personally, I think Oklahoma's a better football team all around. Clemson probably has a little bit better defense, but I think overall Oklahoma's a little bit better. What do you think, Dan?
Only thing I can go by is the 2 head-to-head matchups they've had over the last couple of years, and Clemson has beaten Baker Mayfield to a pulp.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can go by.
Different year, though. We'll say that.
Well, that's what they said the second year.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We'll keep on saying it, though.
Yeah. Create that alternative truth. Right?
There you go. Absolutely. And just want to say, Baker Mayfield did apologize for what he did in Ohio State after their victory. But it's a little side note for you. Some other notable movings around in the top 25. Ohio State fell 6 spots after losing pretty badly at home to Oklahoma. UGA moved up 2 spots after beating Notre Dame on the road 20-19 in a slugfest on the defensive side of the ball, especially. And TCU, they hopped into the top 25. They're up to 20 in both polls. And Stanford, my goodness, after getting walloped by the Southern Cal Trojans, they dropped 5 spots in the AP poll and 5 spots in the coaches poll.
Did Notre Dame move up after they got beat?
They are the lone team that dropped out of the top 25 in both rankings.
What do you mean they didn't move up 5 or 6 spots?
Somehow, some way, Dan.
Wow. Somebody better launch an investigation.
The coaches and the Associated Press, they got their facts right this time.
I'm telling you, there's going to be an investigation.
I think so. But UCLA jumped back into the top 25 in the AP side after being not ranked last week. And some other receiving votes, South Carolina. And I don't know about you, Dan, but I think the Gamecocks, they have a pretty good shot at going undefeated for the first 5, 6, 7, even 8 games of the year. They face Kentucky this week.
Which they're 0-3 in their last 3 games against Kentucky.
That's fair. Hey, but it's a new year.
That's what they said last year, but anyway.
They face Louisiana Tech at home, then travel to A&M in Arkansas. Then they face Tennessee on Saturday, October 14th in Knoxville. So I think if they can get by A&M, they'll have a good shot at being undefeated going into that Tennessee game.
So you're just going ahead and writing off Kentucky?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I think Carolina's a much better team than they were the past 2 years. There's no doubt in my mind.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah. After seeing them against Missouri, the Wildcats are going to have no shot.
Same Missouri that fired its defensive coordinator.
Same Missouri.
2 games into his second season.
Same Missouri, but their offensive coordinator is still there
That great Missouri defense impressed you so much. The performance against that great Missouri defense impressed you so much.
The South Carolina defense impressed me a lot against that Missouri offense. So we still have their coordinator though.
Yeah,
so. Good stuff there. But
that's what you say.
Yeah, at the FCS level, not much movement. Richmond moved up 3 spots after beating Colgate on the road 20-17. Eastern Washington dropped 6 spots after being demolished at home against North Dakota State 40-13. Northern Iowa moved up 3 spots to number 18. And Western Illinois and South Dakota jump in to the top 25 at 22 and 23 respectively. And at least in the coaches poll, Colgate and Lehigh both dropped out. But I think Lehigh and Colgate are still 2 teams that will be a force to reckon with for the remainder of the season, especially Colgate that Furman will face next Saturday after the battle against NC State.
Yeah, not knowing a whole lot about Colgate, obviously, when the season began, they have 2 what you would call, I guess, quality losses. Which is a strange term.
But at the FCS level, that is something you can kind of throw in there, I guess.
Yeah.
So not so much at the FBS level, but since there's 2014 playoff, that adds a little more spice to the equation. I would say, I guess. Thing 3. All right. So in 2005, the 05-06 season, the USC Trojans and Texas Longhorns got together for the Rose Bowl for the BCS National Championship. So they say. According to USC and their sports information director, that game is not listed in their game weeks. And this is a big news because Texas and USC will face each other for the first time this week since that 05-06 National Championship game. And this will make Hunter happy that someone's actually reading the game notes. So USC is not listing that loss in the history of the Texas and USC bout. USC is 4-0 against Texas according to the USC game notes, but according to Texas, they list it as being 1-4, and that one victory being the ever important 05-06 BCS National Championship win in the Rose Bowl. But in 2010, the NCAA found that the Trojans were guilty of agent and amateurism violations involving Bush, and part of the penalty was that the football program needed to vacate all regular season and postseason wins from the 05 season. But the funny thing is, there was no win in that game, so should they count the loss according to what that said in the 2010?
This whole vacating wins thing to me is ridiculous. I mean, it really is, and I know it's symbolic, and I know that they can make a change in a record book or on a record file on a computer, and change a team's record. But everybody knows who won that game.
You're right.
On the field. It really serves no purpose. This whole vacating wins thing. The only thing that would actually serve any kind of purpose would be if they took a championship away from somebody, even though they still won it on the field. So technically, it had the same thing. And then what are they going to do? Turn around and award? Because you've noticed when somebody vacates a win, the other team doesn't get the win on the record.
Well, according to Texas, they do.
But that's not according to the NCAA. When they vacate a win, you just vacate the win. The other team doesn't get the win. So
there's no national champion from the 05-06 season. What you're saying?
Well, depending on which logic you're using.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is, if I'm Texas, or if I'm Texas, do I want to claim that win? Do I want a win given to me that I didn't earn on the field? No, I don't want to claim that win.
I want to claim that win for sure.
You want somebody to give you something you didn't earn.
You won it on the field, so you earned it. You just said it yourself a few moments ago.
Did I say that backwards?
I think. Oh, you may have. The way I interpret it was that if you get the win on the
Texas won the game.
Yeah. Okay.
I did say it backwards.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you win the game.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously. But what I'm saying is, in a different circumstance.
Yeah.
If you did not win the game, and the team had to vacate the win, do you want to claim a win that you didn't earn on the field.
Oh, I see. Okay,
See where I'm going?
so if Texas would have lost that game,
Yeah.
they'd be able to claim that as a W.
Right.
Okay, I don't think that's the case in these instances, but I do think on Texas's side, since they actually won the ball game, that they can go and claim this win. I think the NCAA should also.
They're not vacating a loss. They're asking Southern Cal to vacate
Well,
wins, right?
Yes, you're right, but according to the USC.
But what this
Sports
comes down
Informa-
to is a spitting match between sports information directors.
Exactly, that's what it is. Yeah, and I have a quote from USC's that I have documentation in a letter sent in July 2010 to Wright, who is the information director at USC, that all the changes he instructed us to make, including that loss, has to be vacated, even though, according to some NCAA officials, it's just wins and not losses. So it's a bit of a gray area there, I would say. So,
Man, if you could vacate a loss,
yeah.
you'd have people signing up for that all over the
you got
place.
that right. Yeah.
That's just stupid.
No, I agree.
It's just
So
stupid.
So I think USC for the 05 season should be 0-1. Because right now under the according to the NCAA, they're 0-0. If you go back and look at the NCAA's records, but if you look at Texas's record, that win is in their record books. So it's just it's a mess when you have 3 different, possibly even 4 different records in terms of what happened during that game and that season for the USC Trojans.
Yeah, for Texas, it shouldn't matter. They won the game on the
No,
field.
I agree completely.
So
yeah,
it's just a matter of semantics.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It's stupid. Is what it is.
Plain and simple. You're absolutely correct. I just thought that was a very funny instance right there. Had to point that out because our great love for SIDs here at Furman University.
All right, we need to get to the trivia question answer and make our departure, don't we?
Can I mention those quick on this date?
On this date.
Yep. So in 1845, Alexander Cartwright presents the first baseball rules, and there's 20 in his list that he presents. In 1909, Ty Cobb hits his 9th home run, and it leads the AL, and all of his home runs were inside the park, believe it or not, on this great age of balls going 400, 500 feet. In 1938, Alexander Cartwright and Henry Chadwick, invented the box score. He was the first baseball writer. They're both inducted into the Hall of Fame, so congrats to them and on a glorious induction and the big footprints for them to leave behind.
And you know what the ironic thing about Henry Chadwick was?
What's that?
He was English.
I like that.
His background was with cricket.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Don't you love that?
Mm-hmm.
Let's learn something new every day.
And ended up becoming the first sports writer, if you will, and helped push the brand of baseball. He would later team up with Albert Spalding as baseball from that 1845 time frame began to move forward through the latter part of the 1800s. He spent a lot of time with Albert Spalding, who had maybe the greatest influence in spreading and growing the game of baseball into what it would become in what we consider to be the modern era. So,
absolutely.
And Henry Chadwick. In fact, I have downloaded on my I'll show you something here on my iBooks.
Oh wow!
Just so you can see it and testify that it's there.
Well, gotta move this coffee cup.
Yes,
though.
as soon as my iBooks comes up.
Yeah.
We have Spalding's baseball guide and official league book for 1889.
Wow, that goes back.
So he started putting out those books even prior to that, but you can see who the author is, Henry Chadwick.
Henry Chadwick.
Yeah,
man.
So
anyway, so baseball just dates back even further and further into people you didn't expect. So you gotta love that. In 1965, Willie Mays is the 5th player to hit 500 home runs. Congrats to the Say Hey kid, if you will. In 1972, Roberto Clemente hits his final regular season home run and is tragically killed in the offseason on a mission to, I believe it was his Nicaragua. Okay, so now his home country.
Yeah. He matter of fact, he got his 3,000th and final hit as a major leaguer on the last day of that 1972 season.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I know he's the only player to have exactly 3,000 hits in his career. And last but not least, in 2011, Mariano Rivera becomes the second closer to record 600 saves in a career, and he will eventually pass Trevor Hoffman for most saves all time.
All right, that's some good stuff.
Absolutely. And I just want to say to Ken that I'm not a closet Gamecock. I'm just a big anti-Clemson fan. So,
got some folks who were watching us on the Periscope feed from places all around the world, actually. So if you're still there, LDC and Genti, I hope I'm getting these names right. Nguini and I'm thinking Gage maybe, and so many more. Thank you for tuning in and checking us out. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, from 10 to 11 Eastern Standard Time. The final trivia or the trivia question answer is our final thing before we get out of here.
Absolutely. So, Furman football, which out-of-state opponent does Furman have the most wins against? And Ken Cothran got this right. It is Davidson with 39 victories over the Wildcats.
Huh.
So, obviously, with them not playing football for the majority of my young life, that kind of surprised me a little bit.
Actually, they have been playing football. That's just been Division III non-scholarship football.
Oh, excuse me.
Which is what they are now.
Fair enough. Okay. I thought their program was nixed for 10, 15 years.
It may have been, but
okay.
when they came back,
they've
come back as a Division
so they just
III
came back
non-scholarship.
2 or 3 years ago, right?
I think it's been a little longer than that, but we can look and make sure.
Sure.
Anyway, good Davidson, Ken Cothran.
Yeah.
Atta
boy, Ken.
Yep. Hey, you know what? I'll go ahead and give you the pat on the back.
There you go.
You get both prizes today. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back with you tomorrow, same time, same places, and with Scott Cole in studio with us, and Doug Allison of the nationally ranked Furman men's soccer program at 10:45. Expect tomorrow's show perhaps to go a little longer than normal. Until then, for Forrest, I'm Dan, saying God bless you. So long, everybody.